Suburban Sentinel here with part 2 of our discussion on portable fuel containers, also commonly known as jerry cans. I'm back out here after a rainy start this morning. Mother Nature has bestowed upon us a beautiful day here in New England with quite unseasonably warm summer weather, which we gladly accept as if we had a choice. Anyway, out here I have examples of the 3-size jerry cans we discussed in part 1. I will post a link to part 1 down in the comment section if I can figure out how. As we previously covered, this NATO style design of jerry cans, and of course the cat is already on scene to assist, is a great design. The large can in the back here is the standard 20 liter or 5.2 size. The large container is the most space efficient of the 3 types that were available. Also in the screen here is a 10 liter size. I have a few of these as well, although not as space efficient. If you just need a little bit of gasoline, this 10 liter or 2.5 gallon roughly size is a little bit easier to manage when you're transferring fuel, because the big boy over here, when it's full of gasoline, is about 42 pounds. Finally, to the left is the baby can here. This is the 5 liter. Again, half the size of the middle size can. And this is a convenient unit as well. I only have a couple of these. But if you just need a tiny bit of fuel for fueling very small engines or small tanks, this is great to have. I like to use these for storing two-stroke mix, leaf blowers and weed whackers, anything that 2-cycle engine where there's a gas oil mix. This is a very convenient little package. And the only real difference in size is the baby one here only has one handle, and that's all that's really needed because it's relatively lightweight. They all use the same pour spout, so that's convenient. I don't use the same pour spout for the gas oil mix, but you get the idea. You don't have to have different size spouts, which is terrific. As we discussed in part 1, these cans have now been banned. You can no longer manufacture or sell these cans for fuel storage usage. Now, I'm not exactly sure how or why these cans were banned, but I do know that the source of this was the California Air Resources Board, commonly known as Carb. So we can thank the powers that be in the great state of California for this little debacle. My understanding is that the Carb members, or the board of the California Air Resources Board, had 2 concerns about portable fuel dispensers or jerry cans. First was fumes. I guess their position was that having these types of fuel caps and this type of pouring spout allowed for gasoline fumes to get into the atmosphere, and that is no good according to them. Second, my understanding is that Carb was all wrapped around the axle because these type of caps and fuel spouts were not child or tamper resistant. Apparently there are either some incidents of children getting injured playing with gasoline cans and the fuel contained therein, or they were worried that it might happen in the future. I'm not really sure, but they wanted child-proof caps on this type of can. As far as the issue of fumes, I'm very skeptical that John and Jane Suburbia having a gas can open 2 or 3 minutes a month is producing a significant amount of pollution when compared to everything else we do to the environment to really worry about this. So quite frankly, I think the whole argument about fumes is just crazy talk. But what do I know? As to the childproof cap or child-resistant cap issue, yeah, I guess that's one way to deal with a potential problem, is we can make tamper-resistant everything and raise a bunch of adults who can't get out of their own way and have no common sense. Or we can teach our kids not to play with gasoline. But I guess California decided to go for the former rather than the latter, and the rest of the country followed suit. So anyway, you can still buy fuel cans, but now, I believe it's as of 2009, they must be Carb compliant. Now, I'm not going to disparage any manufacturer or resellers' products without a thorough review, but I have seen a few of them in the field or in different stores. The ones I've seen, which are by no means exhaustive of all the ones out there, I'm sure, are pretty much bogus to me. For example, rather than having a nice tight friction lock captive hardware to close the can, it now has a plastic rather than a metal screw-off lid that you got to play with, and the plastic is of course not nearly as durable as metal. In addition, some of the pour spouts that are now available in the alternative to this nice metal and rubber one that's used on these cans are now flimsy all plastic jobs that if the can fell on it, I'm pretty certain would break. At least one of the carb compliant spouts I looked at had a small metering lever that you had to press in. So you had to hold the can and simultaneously hold the metering lever down to get the gasoline out. Kind of a three-handed or a two-person operation. So in short, I have not seen anything on today's market that equals or even comes close to the ease and convenience of these cans that you see in front of you. Is it really that big of a deal to have to use a carb compliant can rather than these NATO spec types? Well, I guess if you're John or Jane Suburbia filling up your lawnmower every couple of weeks, maybe not. However, as a prepper, I think it is very important to have the safest, most convenient source of fuel available. Of course, it's always important to be safe, but as preppers, we want to be able to store, transport, and transfer our fuel with no waste of a precious resource such as fuel. We want it to be a one-person job, and we want it to be quick and efficient. And let's look at this by example. Picture, if you will, boy, that sounds like an episode of The Twilight Zone. Picture, if you will. Yeah. Anyway, imagine there is a SHTF or an emergency situation requiring that you bug out from the homestead. So you load up your car or truck or whatever and take your loved ones in your bug out bag and leave along with a fair supply of these cans full of fuel because you have to get out of the way of a hurricane or whatever. So you drive a couple 100 miles along with everybody else getting out of Dodge, and now you're low on fuel in the tank of your vehicle. So you figure, no problem, I have our extra fuel supply there and our jerry cans. I'm just going to stop and transfer fuel so we can keep on getting on to get out of the way of whatever is imperiling your lives. But now you are between and among many other drivers and families who are either running on fumes or completely out of fuel. And you're going to be refilling your fuel tank because you were well prepared and have some nice jerry cans. I can just about guarantee under those circumstances, you are going to be a very popular person. And not because of your good looks and effervescent personality, people are going to be eyeing your fuel supply. In that situation, you're going to want to be able to transfer that fuel, first, with no waste of a precious resource. Second, using only one person to do it. If my wife and I were in that situation, I'd be fueling up the tank while she keeps a lookout with a carbine or a rifle in case anyone decided to, let's call it, reassign our fuel supply. And finally, you're going to want to be able to do it quickly so as to attract the least amount of attention and to get back about your business. So as a prepper, I would much prefer to have these type of cans. Now, it's still legal to sell these cans used. If you go on to eBay, I'm not sure if they're still up there, but since the ban, I've seen these used cans on the market for sometimes $100, $125 a piece for beat up, used, rusty, basically crappy cans. So buying beat up cans at that price is ridiculous, especially because you can buy very similar cans in brand new condition. So I'm going to move this show back into my office because I need a computator to go through the availability section of this video. So bear with me for a moment. Okay, I'm back here in my office in front of my computer. And first, I just want to give a quick disclosure statement. I am not at all being compensated by any organization or individual. I have no financial interest in this at all. My only interest is for my fellow preppers to have the best equipment options available to them. So that said, I am on a website for a company called Deutsche Optik, and I hope I am pronouncing that correctly. Anyway, I will post a link, I believe it's just deutscheoptik.com below. Please tell me in the comments section if you don't see the link. I'm kind of a technical neophyte, so I think I've failed in the past to do that correctly. Anyway, as you can see here on the screen, Deutsche Optik is selling the 20-liter NATO-style jerry can on its website. And if I'm not mistaken, the company also has the other two sizes you've seen in my pre-ban cans, the 10-liter and the baby 5-liter one. I don't know very much about this company, but I can say that the gentleman in charge has gotten a hold of a supply of the cans. And I'm going to paraphrase some of the website where essentially, I don't know his name, but the gentleman says that he's sick of the bullshit and deception regarding these jerry cans, and that he's a stubborn fool and just can't let go of it, and how he went straight to the manufacturer, which I believe is in Eastern Europe, to get these cans. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but I love this guy already. Also, Deutsche Optik carries the necessary accessories. You can see on the screen here, they do have the friction lock pour spout and the little adapter to hold this pour spout onto the handles of the can, and the extra gaskets. My understanding is that the only difference between these cans from Deutsche Optik and the ones you saw earlier in the video are, one, that the Deutsche Optik cans come in OD green color only. Now that may be an issue if you're using different fuels such as gasoline and diesel. My recommendation would be just to get stickers or have stickers printed up, yellow and red or however you want to do it, and then typed out which type of fuel is contained in those cans. And the Deutsche Optik cans are stamped with a phrase saying something to the effect of "not for fuel usage." Other than that, the form, fit, function, and materials used are identical. Now, I'm not telling anyone to break the law. I'm just telling you that the cans that I store my fuel in are available in a slightly different form and are sold legally by Deutsche Optik. What you do with that information is entirely up to the individual. As you can see on the screen there, Deutsche Optik also has the little baby 5 liter. And I don't know if I'm technically savvy enough to find the 10, but my understanding is that they do sell the 10 liter as well. Oh, look at that. I was able to find the 10 liter. They call it the Junior. So they have the 20, 10, and 5. Same as you saw in my little pre-ban collection. I did speak with a representative of Deutsche Optik a couple of days ago. And the representative, who is very professional and helpful, by the way, stated that they have all 3 size cans plus all of the accessories currently in stock. So that's all I have to say about the subject of jerry cans at the moment. Please prep to the best of your ability. This is the Suburban Sentinel. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe. Be safe, everybody.